Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I'll be your host. And in this episode, we have the return of Tracey Heinrichs and Kevin Close. Yay! For a
Yay.
special discussion about a recent Apex, Celebrity Apex cruise that Tracey hosted. As I mentioned, I am joined by our panel of experts, Dreams Unlimited Travel agent and celebrity expert, Tracey Heinrichs,
Hi, everyone.
client services manager for Dreams Unlimited Travel, and celebrity expert, Kevin Close,
Hi, everyone.
and our producer and the person we couldn't do any of this without, Craig Williams.
Yeah, I apologize. I forgot the order of importance. So, no offense, Kevin.
There you go. It's already starting. He's already just taking over. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Hopefully you've been watching our Dreams Unlimited Travel Parents Panel podcast that we've been doing weekly. But now we're getting back into our regular dream shows. So we hope you are going to be joining us for those and watching as we go along. This particular episode, I wanted to start out because Tracey was able to participate in a really special cruise that turned out to be a group cruise. That wasn't our original intent, but that's how it turned out. I am calling it our almost Egypt sailing. And I want to talk a little bit about how this cruise came about, how it turned into a group. That's not how we intended, but it's actually kind of a little bit of a story getting to actually booking this group. So I want Kevin to start us out. Just give us a little bit of background, Kevin. How did we get this sailing on the books? And where did it all sort of originate?
When I first met John, he told me one of the places he wanted to go in the world more than any place else was Egypt. Well, it took me a while to get to the point where I could do that because ABD came out with an Egypt trip. So I was so excited. We can do an ABD trip. Well, I book group trips, meaning that Dreams Unlimited Travel owns all of the reservations and we fill them up with folks that want to travel with us. Well, I did that and then COVID happened. So it was canceled. And so everybody got their money back and everybody came back and booked the trip a second time. And it got canceled. So I booked a third one and it got canceled. And I thought, all right, move on. So we were on a celebrity cruise and we went to the rebooking desk and we found out about this trip that was going to leave Athens. And it was going to sail into Egypt and into the Holy Land. We were going to stop in Haifa and visit Israel. Well, John and I booked it, and all we did was we announced that we were on this cruise, and anybody that wanted to join us could join us. And we got a great deal of response from it. And Tracey, how many people were on that cruise?
We ended up with 24.
Okay. Well, John and I, for reasons I won't go into, couldn't go. So we backed out. And while we lost a couple of our friends who backed out with us, 24 people went. So this was my fourth attempt to get John to Egypt. And I'm kind of starting to think the universe is telling me, don't go. We've tried too many times now. I use a scooter almost full time now. And one of the things that was a problem is the things you want to see in Egypt are not accessible. So that's how Tracey ended up as the leader of a group of 24. And while world events stopped our cruise from going to Egypt and Israel, I still was envious that John and I were not part of this group. It was the group of people that was the most enticing.
So I just want to note that you have still failed. I have not gotten to Egypt yet. So you can't fulfill that promise to me. So I'm very, very
I tell
sad.
you what, later on we'll watch The Mummy.
Close enough. I'm in. But yeah, we decided we couldn't go. Tracey was able to, first of all, she was booked on it, but she was able to spearhead the group. And what was nice was we were able to put together a group with celebrity. So a group means there's some perks and some advantages that Tracey will go over for sure. But as Kevin said, biggest disappointment, besides the fact of not going to Egypt, was the fact that this was an incredible group of people who were traveling, and I was really bummed that we couldn't be with you guys, Tracey. Tracey, take it from there. Talk about what happened to the sailing and changes, and then give us a little bit of highlight of what happened.
Okay, so we were really close, so we thought for sure this time those in the group are going to get to go to Egypt. Now, this was the first attempt for Chris and I, so we had not been involved in the other attempts. So we thought we were the lucky charms, maybe. So it looked like it was going to happen.
You are magically delicious.
We are, we are, and I'm soft like a marshmallow. Um,
Oh my
Anyways,
gosh.
look, we digress already. We're not even in the same room and we do this. Um, so anyways, October 16th, we were supposed to depart. And Saturday morning, I believe it was October 7th, if I've got my date right, we wake up to the news of the attacks in Israel, and Israel is at war. So a good chunk of this cruise was Israel, even though we were going to Egypt as well. We actually had, I think, 2 or 3 ports in Israel with an overnight. So a good chunk of the cruise was Israel, and then we were going off and going into Egypt, and then finishing in Turkey in Ephesus. So once I saw the news, I thought, okay. And I had been following along with other cruise ships. Holland America actually was docked that day. And so I was following along as they were trying to get out. So it was, I believe, that afternoon that we started to get word from Celebrity. It started with they sent emails and texts to us, to all the guests, not just us as an agent, but to each guest. And they let us know, kind of gave us a link to follow through. So it was a day or two later, I think it was, when there was an attack on a tourist bus in Alexandria in Egypt. And it wasn't necessarily a tourist bus. I think there's definitely more accurate news than that, but that's my brief version of it. And so once I saw that news, I thought, okay, we'll wait for the next announcement. And it didn't take long to come.
Can I say something before you go on?
Yep.
We were informed as the agency that held the group, and I know you were informed, but I was really impressed with how quickly they made
Yes.
decisions and how quickly they got the information out. Listen, I'm not bashing on anybody else or any other cruise line, Disney, but they seem to be a little bit slow when stuff happens about getting the information out. It was like, I was like, okay, Tracey, here's what I got. And you're like, I got that 5 minutes ago. And the group's getting their information too from Celebrity. So I was very impressed with that.
Tracey can be a witch.
What does that mean?
I already knew that.
I got that 5 minutes ago.
Well, she didn't say it like that, but it was, it was the correspondence we were having
That's
back and
just the
forth.
tone John uses when he repeats what I say.
Could
You
be.
made her sound very mean, girls.
That's all
I
right.
got that
I
5 minutes
wasn't,
ago.
though. I was very polite, and I was
You
smiling
were.
when I emailed them back. Anyways, so you're right on that. They were so quick. And this is why when we make a reservation with Celebrity, Royal Caribbean does this too, but I haven't seen it in real time. When we make a reservation with Celebrity, they ask us for a client email and cell phone number for when they're traveling. So we do our best to provide that information. And this is why it's only for last minute contact if something happens. And so that's what they did. They were sending out texts, they were sending out emails. Of course, as a group, we were all sharing, and things were happening in real time. Like, you're watching the news, things are happening with the cruise, and they were very quick. Now, it took a little bit longer for them to give us an alternative. As you can imagine, they had to figure all that out. They had to, where are we going to go? Who can take us? But the announcements that there was going to be changes came very fast. With the announcement of Egypt not happening, because at first you're like, okay, well, we're still going to Egypt. And then that came. So then it deflated our sails a little bit. And then it's like, okay, what's it going to be? And we were all, there's that moment where I'm sure everybody thought, do we still go? Don't we still go? What are our options here? And I can tell you personally, Chris had a little bit of a meltdown. It might have lasted a few hours, but he was full on toddler tantrum. I'm not going. This is not what I want. He was like, just in a way that I'd never seen him. And I, kind of just laughed at him. It's like, whatever. Look, dude, we got a group going. We're going. Whatever. We've got non-refundable air. We're supposed to leave in 5 days. But so he had a meltdown for a while, and I'm sure everybody did to an extent, right? I mean, it's just, especially those who this was their fourth attempt to get
Yep.
to Egypt.
I specifically at that time reached out to a couple of folks and said, listen, what are you guys going to do? Are you going to go? Are you going to, what's the plan here? And everybody I talked to or had correspondence with said, oh, no, we're definitely going.
So, we were all reaching out on our Facebook page, and we were like, so it got to the point where I was like, okay, group, once Celebrity announced the alternate ports, kind of went to everybody and I said, what is everybody thinking? Is anybody thinking they don't want this to happen, or they want to look at at options? And everybody came back almost instantly. No, we're in. We're going. This was about traveling with this group of people. We get to be on a cruise, and you have that whole moment of, poor me, my cruise is being changed again, and then reality sets in, right? Like, you look at what's happening in the world, and how lucky are we that we're worried about alternate ports. And so I think everybody very quickly was right on board. Now we're going. So that was great to hear, mostly because there weren't a lot of options. With this situation, everything was happening live. Everything was happening, I can just imagine how the cruise lines, all of them, were scrambling. So they weren't offering the option to cancel or refund, or there were no offerings of that. So had anybody said they didn't want to go, I of course would have went to Celebrity and our rep Nick, who's fantastic, and I would have fought for anybody who wanted and a different option. But no, I didn't need to. Nobody wanted it.
So what wound up being the ports of call once they decided to change from Israel and Egypt? They added other ports of call. What did it wind up being?
So we ended up still departing from Athens, of course. And some of us had a pre-stay in Athens, which was nice. We organized, somebody had ordered a group for us to explore Athens for a day. We had done a food tour with the Shaws. So we had a great time in Athens. I really enjoyed it. It was my first time actually in Greece at all. So the ports that ended up being replaced with were, we went to Mykonos, we went to Santorini, we went to Rhodos, we did Crete, Cyprus, and we added an additional stop in Turkey in addition to Ephesus. So we had 2 stops in Turkey as well. So it ended up, for us and for some others on board, we had not been to any of these ports. So as far as plan Bs go, it wasn't too bad, that's for sure.
Kevin and I had been to some of those ports in Greece. Mykonos was one of our favorites. We thought that was an incredible place to stop. But Santorini was where we docked, and you had to get to the top of the hill, and your options were to walk on a switchback. I don't know how many miles it was, ride a gondola, or ride a donkey.
Right.
Did you ride the donkey, Tracey?
No, I didn't. That would be unfair to all donkeys worldwide. So save the donkeys. There's actually another option I learned about, because that was my concern. How am I going to get up there? Because I'd heard about the cable car option, but I had also heard that lineups for the cable car, depending on how many ships in, can be a couple hours long. And I knew Santorini itself was going to be, quite a bit of walking and hills and stairs. So I found out that if I booked an excursion through the ship, it actually we didn't dock, we needed to tender. It took us to a different tender dock. And there we got on a bus. And that bus drove us all the way up to Ia first. So then, we had some time to explore there. And then it took us down again to the name of this, is it Fiva? There's a second little town. It took us there, and then we took the cable car down. So I found a workaround where I didn't have to take the cable car, certainly wasn't walking, and I got to still save the life of a donkey.
So
All's
hoping
well
you
that
guys
ends
didn't
well.
get the donkey. Also, that's well. Um, so yeah, again, Santorini, great stop. Santorini is kind of like classic Greece, right? When you think of Greece
Really.
and you see the blue
Mhm.
roofs and the white buildings, sort of that. So it sounds like Celebrity did a great job of keeping people informed and changing the itineraries. What was the response from our group? Were people excited about these ports, or were they just like, okay, yeah, we'll go anywhere?
Some were. I think like us, they had never been. I think for some, there was still a little bit of disappointment, but happy they were still going to sail with this group anyway. As you guys said, missing the group was the biggest, negative about not being able to go. And I think that's what everybody in the group was feeling. But for the most part, I can tell you, we had dinner together the last night, and everybody just had a wonderful time. Everybody enjoyed exploring the ports that we did. You know, in Ephesus, I got to go to a rug factory, and where they kind of lock you in the room and give you drinks and want you to buy rugs. But we learned how the rugs were made, so that was cool. Um, I think the
Did you buy a
McGee's brought a
rug?
couple lovely rugs. I hope to get to see someday. Um,
So you bought
and
rugs and had them delivered to your house? Is that what you're saying?
that's what the McGee's did. I didn't. I was
Oh,
alone, and I didn't feel like I had the rug shopping permission. That's the word I'm looking for.
was Chris in a fetal position in the stateroom? What was wrong? Why?
He
Why did you
wasn't.
get it?
Chris actually did a private tour that Kevin McGrory had organized. So he had organized a private tour for Ephesus where they were kind of going up, being dropped off, and walking, I don't know, 140 miles upstairs. I don't know what it was. But all I knew was I was not participating. So I took a panoramic city tour that was just on the bus with a stop at the rug place. So that worked for me. Um, but that was the great thing about this group too, right? This group they're travelers. So as much as I'm the travel agent and I know my lane, I love learning from my clients and especially from this group because they're so well traveled and they all have different ways of doing things. Like I had mentioned, we did the food tour with the Shaws, Pam Scott. Scott had organized that and found it, and we signed on. And that, can I just say, that was my first food tour traveling, and it won't be my last. I loved getting to know the city through the eyes of a local, not just the foods, but the history and a little bit about daily life. And so that was a really fascinating tour for me. Um, Somebody else had organized a full day tour. I think it was Chris Jackson that did it, where we had a day of touring in Athens with all of us on a private bus. And it ends up being less than what you would pay to tour one of these places, like when you're doing it this way. So that was fantastic. Kevin McGrory had organized, like I said, the Ephesus tour. He had a couple very fancy, like dinner wine things organized because, he's the food and wine connoisseur. So if you've got a few extra $1,000 to spend, I think doing Kevin McGrory's food and wine tours of Greece probably was a highlight.
They do that pretty much everywhere. We love traveling with the
Yeah,
McGorries. They are definite adventurers when it comes to food. They're
they
not. They love to go to
are. They
places.
are.
Um, when you say these guys organize groups, so we're not through the cruise line, they were able to find independent groups. Is that what you're saying?
Most of what I think everybody did was independent. Some of us did some group stuff. Chris and I did something, I think ours was Cyprus, where we did a group together. Or, I'm sorry, we did an excursion that we booked through the ship. My Ephesus was booked through the ship. So there was kind of a combination. Some people were doing things through the ship. Some things were joining private tours. Some people were joining private tours. I know, I think Scott Shaw had organized something in Santorini that some people had joined in on. So that was a great thing about traveling as the group. On our Facebook page, somebody would say, hey, I've been looking into this. Anybody want to join? Or I'm going to do this. And it was a great way to really see. There was a lot of options, whether you wanted to go through the ship, join, other members of the group and do these private things. It was really um, It couldn't have been better. I know we ended it, Chris and I, as we were sitting on the flight home and saying, that was the best vacation I've had in I don't know how long. Like it really,
Wow.
I loved the group we traveled with, even though things had changed as far as itinerary. I loved the cruise, the celebrity staff. I felt, I always, I'm a big celebrity fan, but I felt they went above and beyond. They were so friendly and welcoming. And I don't know. It really was the best cruise we'd had in a while. The water was perfect, of course, where we were sailing. The weather was perfect. Um, everything just kind of came together.
That's awesome.
I am
So,
so envious of that.
hmm.
Good. That's what I was going for.
And I just want to say something. I want to say these are our friends. They're not your friends, Tracy. So don't steal our
Well,
friends, okay?
that's what I wanted to tell you.
They don't want to travel with Kevin and I anymore. They prefer you.
Yes, that's okay. We'll share them.
Okay,
We'll
I
share them.
figured as
The
much.
group welcomed us. And there's surprisingly enough, there was some of this group we had not met. And I'm thinking, how could we not have met all of these people?
Right.
But there was some of the group we hadn't met. And I got to tell you, I could not have asked for a better group. And I'm glad that they adopted us. And we're excited to talk about, okay, what can we all do next?
Tell me a little bit about what it means when you put together a group for any cruise line, but specifically celebrity. It's not just people are traveling together and you're all linked for dinner. There's other things involved in that.
Right. So when you're booking as a group, first of all, you have to have minimums, right? So minimum group, just about for every cruise line, is 8 staterooms, double occupancy. So 16 people. Now, if you had singles pay as doubles, so they will count that as a part of the group. But if you have 4 people in a stateroom, that doesn't count as 4 towards the count of 16. So you have to have that minimum, first of all, before anything starts to happen. And then at that point, what happens kind of depends on the group, the date, how busy it is. Sometimes we get group space, which means that, we have some better pricing on rooms. That's not always the case. Often, we look between group space and we look between public available space and see what the best deal is. We can do that. But, there's group amenities. So when we do a group, what I look at is any advantage that the cruise line gives us as a group. How can I turn that back into the group, right? So that's really what we look at Dreams. And I know, other groups that we've done together, that's always John's philosophy too. What can we do for the group to plus this? So, sometimes there's amenity points, they call them. So in this case, I mentioned Nick, our sales rep. He's great to us. He's a really good friend to us. And so he had helped out with some extra amenity points. Um, and then, of course, depending on how many people, there might be other benefits. So I turned as much of the benefit I could into add-ons for the group. So in this particular one, because we were a bit larger, I was able to have some in-room amenities. So, some welcome gifts and some things delivered to the room. I was also able to organize some, dinners where Dreams picked up the tab, and this was because of some of the benefits, the cruise line gave us for booking the group. So we turned that back over, and I booked. We all did Le Petit Chef together one night. That was a lot of fun. Some of the group hadn't done it
Oh,
before,
wow. That's
so
awesome.
that was great. Yeah, so we did a dinner at Le Petit Chef. Now it wasn't a buyout; we didn't have the whole restaurant, but they were at least able to seat us together, and we were able to pick up the tab for that. We also did a group dinner at Edge. I'm not Edge. I'm sorry. Yes, Edge, the restaurant that's off of. Why is it escaping me? The really weird place on the Edge class.
On the outside of the ship?
No, this one is down inside. You go through the weird hallways to get there, and then it's like this really funky kind of room. Anyways, so they have a restaurant there. So I think it was called the Edge. I don't know why I'm having like a complete mind blank right now. But anyways, we had a group dinner there. Before that, we had had a cocktail party with some snacks and hors d'oeuvres. So we were able to pick up the tab for those things. And so it just means that, and the other thing with having the group book, it just kind of makes things a little bit easier to keep to plan. There's many things you can do with a group, whether it's group shore excursions or, just enjoying these private or these dinners or private parties or things like that.
And I know you had a couple amenities sent to the rooms.
I did.
I was getting updates. I was getting, look
No,
what Tracey
were you?
gave us. Look what we got from Tracey. You're like, "Oh, that's not from
Yeah.
Tracey."
See, I told you I'm their new friend now.
You are. You're your best friend.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately, John?
So that's a really cool thing for being as part of the group. It
It's
doesn't
nice. I
cost
like to do
us
that when
any.
we can. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't cost us Streams Unlimited travel anymore, but it's a nice perk to be able to put the group together.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I know for a fact these guys are super excited. They had a great time. They had a great time traveling together. And I know that a future group was planned. Tell us about that sailing.
Yes. So this is very exciting to me. Talk about again going to somewhere I've never been in a part of the world where I wasn't necessarily sure I would ever get to. But we're going. So this group and just about all of the 24, I think there's a couple holdouts. You know who I'm talking about when you see this. Um, so this one,
Oh, that's
this
oddly
one,
threatening.
It
it
was.
was. He knows who I'm talking about. um, so this one is February 18th of 25. So lots of planning time. We are doing a 12 night on the Celebrity Solstice, departing from Hong Kong and sailing to Singapore. This cruise has a number of stops in Vietnam, including an overnight. We're overnighting in Bangkok. There's another stop in Thailand before we get to Singapore as well. But really neat itinerary. A lot of the group has not been to any of these places. Um, so really excited, really, really excited for this one. And like I said, so far most of the group has signed up. We do have more space, so if anybody wants to join us, wants more information, just pop me an email. It's Tracey H at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And yeah, I'll share the information with you. Um, it's it's an exciting itinerary. The
It
group is
is.
already laughing about the food tours they're going to do on land and how they're all going to laugh at me. I'll be eating granola bars, but I will be enjoying the sights.
It's a part of the world that I think if you've never been and you want to see it, seeing it by cruise ship is probably a good way to dip your toe. You know, you get to have that sort of safety and stability of being on a cruise ship where you know you're going to come back to every night and have your hotel room, but you get to see these sort of exotic places. That's how I look at it personally. I don't know that I would go there, you know, individually by myself as a trip, but I think seeing the world that way through a cruise ship is really awesome. February 18th, 2025, and reach out to Tracey if you're interested in joining that group. And I know you've got another group sailing on something else. It's not Celebrity. What's that about?
I do. We have a small group sailing on the Anthem, May
Royal
12th of
Caribbean.
24. Yes, Royal Caribbean's Anthem of the Seas. Sorry. I just assume everybody knows. So yeah, that one's May 12th of 24 on the Anthem of the Seas. We're sailing out of Southampton, and it's a 7 night Norwegian fjords cruise. Again, this was one of those where a couple people contacted me and said, we're interested in doing this. And then some other people at it. And Chris and I were like, oh, that looks fun. We're going to go too. So that's how we get in on that one. And yeah, so that one, I actually still have some group rates left on that one. I have some group space. So if anybody is interested in joining us, it is a smaller group. So things like amenities and what we can add on may be less. But nonetheless, a very fun group to travel with. And I know some people are already chatting about what they're going to do because it's only 7 nights. And this group is like 7 night vacations. We can't do that. So, you know, they're looking at, you know, what are they going to do before or after? Um, and excited, looking forward to that one. Also an area I've never been. So I'm really checking off some bucket lists.
You are. We were going to do a fjords cruise this year, and again, something came up, and um, we had to cancel that cruise as well. So we've got some other stuff going on, but you know, we'll take a look at it. Maybe we'll want to join you guys. That
Yeah,
sounds like
that
an
would be great.
exciting
You can
cruise.
join us. It doesn't change the friendship circle, but you can come.
Thank you for giving me permission to join your group, Tracy. Oh, look what I guess I would get texts. Oh, look what Tracey gave us tonight in our stateroom. Isn't this great? This is from Tracey. And I thought, damn it. How come I'm not getting credit? Excellent. I want to remind folks that if you're interested in a celebrity or Norwegian or Royal Caribbean sailing, Tracey is really a great resource for all of these. You can reach out to her. We'll have her email address up in her lower part of the screen. You should be able to grab her email address for sure if you decide you want to book either any one of our groups or any celebrity Royal Caribbean sailing. Please reach out to her directly. Any last minute words you want to say about this sailing, Tracey, before we go?
I just want to say that, like I said before, we were all saddened to see what was happening in Israel and what was happening in the world. Um, and so part of us felt guilty worrying about where are we stopping and stuff. But all that aside, I just want to thank this group, honestly. What a wonderful group of people. So kind, so generous with their time, but also like their knowledge, willing to share. So many times the group was hanging out together, everybody, the last night we wanted to have that dinner for all of us because we just weren't ready to say goodbye yet. So I really want to thank this group. They really made this a trip of a lifetime for Chris and I. And I can't wait to travel with them again.
Awesome. All right, Tracey, thank you so much for telling us about your trip. Thank you, Kevin, for participating in our broadcast. Thank you, Craig, for, I don't know what you're doing. I think you're balancing your checkbook or something. I have no idea what's going on.
You weren't supposed to find that out.
I wasn't supposed to. Shoot. Yeah. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.